So what is the best memory card for your camera? To a degree, this is going to matter what is actually compatible with your camera. If you want kind of an easy way to go about this, just look up on the internet, what camera cards are compatible with blah, blah, blah camera model that you have, right? So for example, I'm filming on a Panasonic GH5 right now, so I could look up what camera memory cards are compatible with the Panasonic GH5. And you just type that in on your computer, give it an internet search, and just see what people recommend. Because in some cases, depending on the speed that the memory card is rated for, you might not be able to use certain recording features or certain recording capabilities on your camera if it doesn't have a fast enough data rate on the card. It might not be able to film at certain modes, right? Like even with the current card I'm using right now, I don't believe I could film at the highest recording quality, at like the really high end of recording capabilities of this camera. Not really a big deal for me. But if I did want to get into doing that, then it probably would be a good idea to Google what card would allow me to do that, And another thing is not just what the speed of the card needs to be, but I might have already said this, but what type of card does your camera take? Does your camera take an SD card, a micro SD card, a CF card, a CF Express card? Knowing what, because compatibility. Some loon out there? 2 loons, I think. Anyway, so ignore them. What kind of memory card is compatible? What kind of memory card actually works in your camera, and the compatibility level with what the speed needs to be, or what the generation of card needs to be. Because with SD cards have been around for a decent amount of time, so you might have a really old SD card that is a different generation or whatever you call it, and it might not be compatible with your newer camera, or the newer generation of SD cards might not be compatible with a really old camcorder that takes SD cards. So basically, just as a general rule of thumb, take the model of your camera, the camera name, and just look up what SD card or what memory card is compatible with this camera, and just see what people who know things on the internet have to say about it, right? It might just be, it is kind of just that simple. And so just start with that. And ChatGPT might know, or might be able to help you find the answer. So anyway, beyond that, in terms of the best memory card, again, it's going to be what type of memory. So is it SD card? Is it CF Express? Maybe you have a camera that could take an SD card and a CF Express card. So in that case, the best card might just be going with what is the version of card that it takes that is the highest quality. So as far as I understand, at least when it comes to modern versions of these cards, I believe that a modern CF Express card is always going to be better than a modern SD card in terms of same general year of release, because I think CF Express is the really, expensive high-end type of memory that you are going to use for the really high quality, recording settings. I think CF Express cards are used in some of the modern cinema cameras, I assume. So that if your camera, say you have a camera that takes either SD card or CF Express, and you want the best card in terms of the fastest, and it's going to give you the most recording options on your camera, going with the CF Express card is going to be a better general option than the SD card. But CF Express cards are probably going to be more expensive than the SD cards, for gigabyte to gigabyte comparison, right? So a 64 gig CF Express card probably going to be more expensive than a 64 gigabyte SD card. And we're even talking about if it's let's say it's the best CF Express card versus the best SD card. CF Express is probably going to be more expensive. But, again, you might be able to see if there's a cheaper, maybe a little bit slower CF Express card, or maybe you get one that's not as large of a storage space, but then again, are you only going to be able to film for 4 minutes? There's all these different things to consider. But if you just want the general simple rule of thumb, just look up what card is compatible with your camera, and depending on what the actual data rate that you're filming at, like if you're filming at this really high quality, robust video format, then get something that's got more gigabytes, because the more gigabytes you got, it's going to be the better in terms of when you're filming at these higher resolution and, you know, color bit depth and all this other stuff options, right? Because otherwise you're going to fill up the card really fast if you're only using like a 32 gigabyte card. So it just might be worth just buying like a 256 gigabyte card if you're filming at like, you know, 100 megabits per second, you know, recording mode, and then you don't have to worry about it as much, because maybe you could film for a few hours without the card getting completely filled up. You know, configure your recording settings in such a way as to fit the needs of what you're doing, because if you just need to film for a long time without the camera stopping because you ran out of space, then film at like a lower quality setting, but ideally still like good enough to capture a half decent image. And it might not need to be crazy recording settings. Like right now I'm just filming at like some really basic recording setting, but hopefully for YouTube and stuff and what I'm doing, hopefully this is like good enough. Regardless, this is what I'm going to use right now because it's a smaller file size, looks pretty decent, hopefully, you know. Anyway, I'll leave that there. If you have more questions about cameras, I have a Skool Community, link in description. Feel free to join and ask the questions there. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.